Good Friday, everyone. I'm Cyrus Webb, and welcome to Conversation Daily News. Glad you all could be with us. Well, we made it to the end of another week. Of course, you have your news headlines coming up on this Friday. I have a message from my book, Words I Choose to Live By. And in today's Entertainment Spotlight, you're part of my conversation with best-selling author Tui Sutherland. You don't want to miss that. Enjoy today's broadcast. For Conversation Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with your Friday headlines. In national news, House Speaker Mike Johnson calls on Biden to take executive actions on the border. The Republican Speaker's letter comes as Congress left for the year without an agreement to address the border crisis, and CBP saw record migrant apprehensions. With Congress gone for the year with no border deal, House Speaker Mike Johnson announced on Thursday he sent a scathing letter to President Joe Biden blaming him for the border crisis and urging him to take a number of executive actions to stem the record tide of illegal immigration. Those executive actions, Johnson said, include ending the policy allowing Customs and Border Protection to release migrants without court dates and turn back or detain all aliens encountered between ports of entry, restricting parole, which allows the president to temporarily admit some migrants, and pursuing agreements with third countries like Canada to take those seeking asylum in the U.S. Johnson also urged Biden to resume construction of the border wall. While a bipartisan group of senators has begun extensive negotiations over the past few weeks to try to find a compromise, they have not yet been able to finalize an agreement, Johnson wrote. Statutory reforms designed to restore operational control at our southern border must be enacted, but the crisis at our southern border has deteriorated to such an extent that significant action can wait no longer. It must start now, and it must start with you, the Speaker said in his letter. Johnson's letter comes as recent video footage shows CBP being overwhelmed by migrants trying to cross the southern border with Mexico. A new record was set just this week when CBP apprehended more than 12,000 migrants in a single day on the southwest border, nearly 11,000 of whom are migrants who crossed the border illegally between ports of entry, Department of Homeland Security officials said. The Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas and other Biden administration officials have been closely working with a trio of senators trying to negotiate a border agreement that's needed to unlock aid for Ukraine and Israel. In his letters, copies of which were sent to Mayorkas and the congressional leaders, Johnson said the border crisis has caused unspeakable human tragedy for migrants and certainly for our own citizens. In more national news, Rudy Giuliani files for bankruptcy days after being ordered to pay $148 million in defamation case. Rudy Giuliani filed for bankruptcy on Thursday, acknowledging severe financial strain exacerbated by his pursuit of Donald Trump's false 2020 election claims and a jury's award of $148 million to two former Georgia election workers he defamed. The former New York City mayor listed nearly $153 million in existing or potential debts, including almost $1 million in tax liabilities, money he owes lawyers, and many millions of dollars in potential legal judgments and lawsuits against him. He estimated he had assets of the range of $1 million to $10 million. The filing will give Giuliani the opportunity and time to pursue an appeal while providing transparency for his finances under the supervision of the bankruptcy court, to ensure all creditors are treated equally and fairly throughout the process. In international news, UN says more than 1 in 4 people in Gaza are starving because of the war. More than 500,000 people in Gaza, a quarter of the population, are starving, according to a new report on Thursday by the UN and other agencies that highlights the humanitarian crisis caused by Israel's bombardment and siege on the territory in response to the Hamas October 7th attack. The extent of the population's hunger eclipsed even the near famines in Afghanistan and Yemen of recent years, according to figures in the report. The report warned that the risk of famine is increasing each day, blaming the hunger on insufficient aid entering Gaza. In entertainment news, comedian Joe Coy is picked to host the Golden Globes as award season kicks off. Comedian and actor Joe Coy has been tapped to host the Golden Globes, picked by producers for his infectious energy and relatable humor. Coy last year saw his Easter Sunday become the first big studio movie with an all-Filipino ensemble. He has released 5 stand-up specials on Comedy Central and Netflix, including his most recent Netflix special, live from the Los Angeles Forum. And finally, in business news, Wall Street claws back some of Wednesday's big losses. Wall Street on Thursday clawed back some of its sharp loss from the prior day, which was its first major step backwards since a rally began in late October. The S&P 500 was 0.6% higher in afternoon trading on Thursday, sitting less than 2% below its record set nearly 2 years ago. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was up 160 points, or 0.4%, a day after falling for the first time, following 5 straight record-setting days. Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. It's now time for a message from my book, Words I Choose to Live By. Enjoy. Good Friday, everyone. I'm Cyrus Webb, and welcome to Words I Choose to Live By. Has anyone told you this week how special you are? Do you realize how important your life is? If not, take this opportunity to let it sink in. You are amazing. You are special. You are all that is needed to be great. So go embrace your greatness. Have an amazing Friday and enjoy your weekend. We are part of my conversation coming up with best-selling author Tui Sutherland in today's Entertainment Spotlight. Stay with us. You're listening to Conversation Daily News. For Conversation Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with your Entertainment Spotlight. Best-selling author Tui Sutherland joined me on Conversations Live in Cyrus Webb Presents this week to talk about her brand new book, Wings of Fire, A Guide to the Dragon World. Here's a bit of our conversation. Tui, thank you again for the time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Cyrus. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, the pleasure's definitely all mine. The book is already a buzzing. You have readers of all ages that are enjoying this book. What has it been like for you, Tui, to see the response to the Wings of Fire series?
Oh, it's amazing. I love these readers so much. I love how creative they are, how they all have their own ideas and dragons, and they want to tell me all about them. And I just think that I've been so lucky to get to work on this series and connect with all those kids.
Yeah. And now what you've been able to do with this guide to it that I really love is if people are new to the series, I think this is a great introduction for them to be able to know a little bit more about the characters you've been able to create. But why did you decide now was the time to kind of give us this guide to kind of pull everything together?
Sure. Kids have been asking for a book like this for a while. They just wanted all the details, like an encyclopedia of the world, basically. But I wanted to make sure that I'd introduced all of the 10 tribes because there are 3 that you don't meet until book 11. And so books 11 through 15 take place on the second continent where you get to meet these new tribes and find out their history. So I wanted to make sure I had all of that sort of laid down in place before I did a guide that included the 10 different tribes, both continents, maps that cover like sort of all the different parts, the different kingdoms. And then it gives all these sort of answers to questions that kids have had all along. I actually had a list that someone gave me at a con where they were saying like, here are the questions that everyone has online. Can you answer all of these? And I went through like a checklist. It was so helpful, actually.
Love that. Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. We thank you all for tuning in to this Conversation Daily News. But on Mondays, more news, message from my book, Words I Choose to Live By, and of course, your Entertainment Spotlight. Until then, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversation Daily News today. Now let's go make today amazing. Take care.